Look at your hand for a moment. Not quickly, not casually. Let your eyes rest there, as if your hand has been waiting patiently for you to finally pay attention. Because what if I told you, this mark on your palm did not appear by chance, did not form randomly, did not arrive without meaning? What if it was placed there with purpose? Capricorn, some of you have carried this sign since you were very young. You may not have understood it then. You may not have noticed it at all. Others are seeing it clearly only now, during a season when life feels heavy, when waiting feels long, when isolation has made your thoughts louder than usual. And that timing is not accidental. You are noticing the mark now because something in you has matured enough to understand it. This is not just a line on your palm. It is a signal, a quiet reminder, a key that was always yours, waiting for the right moment to be recognized. Capricorn, think about your life for a second. You have always carried responsibility early. You learned strength before comfort. You learned patience before reward. You learned to keep going even when no one clapped for you. So it makes sense that this sign did not announce itself loudly. It waited until you were ready to look closely. Before we go any further, I want you to do something simple. Type this in the comments. Just these words, I see the sign. Nothing more, nothing extra. Because the moment you acknowledge it, something inside you begins to shift. Awareness is the first activation. Stay with me until the end of this message, not out of curiosity alone, but because what you are about to understand is deeper than symbolism. You will not only learn what this mark means, you will understand why this exact moment in your life is when it is meant to awaken. And Capricorn, this realization was never meant to arrive early. It was meant to arrive on time. Hands speak before mouths ever do. Long before words form, hands already tell a story. They hold memory, they show effort, they reveal intention. Look closely and you'll realize this. Your hands have always been busy, carrying more than others expected of you. Across ancient teachings and sacred understandings, the palm was never seen as empty or random. It was believed to be a living record, a surface where purpose leaves traces over time. Nothing written there was considered accidental. The lines were seen as marks shaped by experience, discipline, and inner calling. That is why the palm was viewed as a page already written upon, not something waiting to be filled, but something waiting to be understood. The M shape, formed where specific lines meet in precise alignment, has appeared quietly on the hands of those who were meant to build, not just imagine. Those who were meant to carry, not escape. Those who were meant to protect, organize, and restore order where things feel unstable. Long before it ever had a name, this mark appeared on the hands of people trusted with responsibility. Capricorn, this fits you perfectly. Your life has never been about shortcuts. You rarely received things easily. You learned early that nothing solid comes without effort. Strength, for you, was not an idea, it was a habit. Responsibility did not ask politely before finding you. It arrived early and stayed. That is why the sign did not appear on your forehead for everyone to notice. You were never meant to be loud about who you are. It was placed on your palm, the place of action, the place of work, the place of giving, building, and creating tangible results. Your hand represents movement, not talk. Consistency, not promises. Follow through, not performance. And this is what the sign quietly says about you. Your destiny is not activated by what you announce to the world. It is activated through what you do, again and again, even when no one is watching. The mark mirrors your nature, steady, dependable, purpose-driven. It is silent, not because it is weak, but because it speaks through outcomes. And Capricorn, outcomes have always bowed to your persistence. Most people do not notice this mark during easy times. They notice it when life begins to press in, after disappointment, after betrayal that stayed quiet but cut deep, after exhaustion that sleep did not fix, after long nights where you stared at the ceiling and asked yourself if all the effort was still worth it. And that is not coincidence. Pressure has a way of uncovering what comfort never will. Ease hides things. Pressure reveals them. Capricorn, you are not shaped during calm moments. You are formed when weight is applied. When life becomes noisy for others, they scatter. When life becomes quiet for you, your awareness sharpens. Uncertainty does not weaken you, it focuses you. That is why many of you noticed the M mark only after you had been stretched for too long. After you became the emotional support for everyone else, while no one asked how you were truly holding up. After you were the dependable one again and again, until strength began to feel like a burden instead of a blessing. After you carried responsibility that was never fairly yours, yet you shouldered it anyway because you knew someone had to. This is the environment where your soul matures. The sign does not reveal itself to the untested. It appears when endurance has been proven. It surfaces when you stop running from weight and begin standing steadily under it. Capricorn, you were built to hold pressure without breaking. And when your inner strength reached that point, the mark became visible, not to announce itself loudly, but to quietly confirm what you had already become. This sign does not arrive to rescue you from difficulty. It appears to show that difficulty has already done its work. And now, something deeper within you is ready to rise. This mark does not promise you fame. It does not guarantee applause. It does not mean life will suddenly become easy. That is a misunderstanding many people make. The M on your palm is not a symbol of power over others. It is a symbol of mastery over yourself. True mastery is quiet. It is disciplined. It is consistent, even when no one is watching. Capricorn, you have never been attracted to shortcuts. You are drawn to structure, order, and things that last. That is why this mark aligns with who you already are. This sign reflects the ability to lead without losing humility, to grow without becoming proud, to handle responsibility without becoming harsh or careless. Those who carry this mark are rarely elevated quickly. They are tested first. Life watches closely and asks serious questions before anything is released. Can you handle influence without misusing it? Can you manage more without forgetting your values? Can you receive increase without letting it change your character? Capricorn, these questions are why your journey has often felt delayed. You saw others move ahead faster. You watched people with less discipline rise sooner. You wondered why your progress felt slower, heavier, more demanding. But understand this clearly now. Your delays were not denials, they were verifications. Every season of waiting was measuring your integrity. Every responsibility without recognition was shaping restraint. Every moment you chose patience over reaction was noted. You thought you were being ignored. You felt unseen. You assumed no one noticed what you carried quietly. But Capricorn, you were being observed, watched in pressure, watched in silence, watched in moments where quitting would have been understandable, yet you stayed steady. The M is not a reward. It is confirmation that mastery has been developing within you all along. And mastery, once complete, lasts far longer than power ever could. Many people feel deeply. They feel hope. They feel passion. They feel emotion strongly in their hearts. But feeling alone does not create change. Very few people act with integrity when pressure shows up. Even fewer follow through when it becomes difficult. That is why the sign was placed on your hand, not your heart. The hand represents action, movement, work, consistency. Your heart holds emotion, but your hand reveals commitment. This mark signifies alignment between what you believe and what you actually do, between your inner values and your outer behavior, between promises spoken and promises delivered. Capricorn, you have never been content with empty intention. You may dream quietly, but you move deliberately. You don't rush into things. You don't make noise before results are ready. You believe in showing, not telling. You build slowly with patience, quietly without seeking approval, relentlessly even when progress feels invisible. While others speak fast and fade quickly, you stay. That is why the divine recognizes your hands first. Your hands carry effort. They show sacrifice. They reflect discipline that was learned, not inherited. Every time you continued despite uncertainty, every time you chose responsibility over comfort, every time you kept working without recognition, your hands remembered. The mark on your palm carries this message clearly. This one completes what others abandon. This one does not fold under pressure. This one finishes what others only begin. Capricorn, destiny trusted your hands because they have already proven their reliability. What you hold, you protect. What you start, you sustain. And what you commit to, you see through. That is why the sign rests where action lives. On the hand that builds a future step by steady step. Here is something important to understand. Activation does not happen when you touch the mark on your palm. It is not triggered by physical contact. It is not turned on by a gesture. Activation happens internally. It begins with acceptance. The moment you stop questioning whether you are good enough or chosen enough. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who never tried to understand you. The moment you stop shrinking your standards just to be accepted or included. That moment is activation. For a long time, you may have softened your strength to make others comfortable. You may have hidden your seriousness so people wouldn't feel intimidated. You may have apologized for being focused, reserved, or disciplined. Capricorn, this was never something you needed to apologize for. Your seriousness is not coldness. Your standards are not arrogance. Your boundaries are not rejection of others. They are signs of self-respect. Activation occurs when you finally stop asking for permission to be who you already are. Some of you are waiting for validation, a signal from outside, a moment where someone says, "Now you're allowed." But the truth is simple. The mark itself was permission. It was placed on your palm long before you asked any question. It existed before doubt entered your mind. It remained silent while you learned restraint. Activation does not demand effort. It requires alignment. When your identity aligns with your integrity, when your behavior matches your inner truth, what has been dormant begins to function naturally. You don't force activation. You grow into it. In Capricorn, you are arriving at that point now. Not by touching the mark, but by finally standing fully in who you are. Notice something about your life. Even when things fall apart emotionally, even when relationships shift or plans break down, one thing always finds its way back: structure. You may feel shaken on the inside, but somehow your outer world reorganizes itself around you. Where others bring confusion, you bring clarity. Where others panic, you slow things down. You stabilize chaos without needing to control it. You don't force order. Order responds naturally to you. People lean on you instinctively. Not because you demand authority, but because you make things feel steady. This is not accidental, Capricorn. The M on your palm reflects an ability few people have, the ability to manage resources responsibly. Not just money, but time, energy, commitments, systems that need discipline to survive. You don't waste what you're given, you measure, you plan, you move with intention. That is why growth in your life has often been gradual. Sudden gain at an earlier stage would have overwhelmed you. It might have pulled you off balance instead of lifting you higher. So life held back, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Each delay developed patience. Each responsibility refined judgment. Each lesson built steadiness. Now things shift. What once would have been too heavy arrives when your hands are solid enough to hold it. Money follows you because you respect it. Authority follows you because you don't abuse it. Structure follows you because you naturally maintain it. Capricorn, nothing is rushing towards you blindly anymore. What comes next recognizes that you are ready. Every person who carries this mark faces one final test. Not many talk about it because it does not look dramatic from the outside. There are no loud signs, no instant rewards, no sudden applause. It arrives quietly, and the question appears gently, almost unnoticed. Will you remain disciplined when no one is watching? Not because you are being monitored, not because you fear punishment, but because discipline has become your natural state. This test does not come in chaos. It comes during calm. It shows up when life gives you enough room to relax, enough comfort to become careless, enough stability to slowly drift. And that is where the decision is made. Capricorn, this test is not asking you to be harsh. It is not asking you to be cold. It is not asking you to isolate yourself. It is asking whether you can stay anchored. Anchored in your values when nobody reminds you. anchored in structure when no one enforces it, anchored in self-respect when compromise would be easy. You have already lived through storms. This test is different. This is the season where nothing pushes you, but everything watches quietly. There were times in your life when discipline was survival. You had no choice but to stay strong, no option but to be responsible, no space to fall apart. But now, discipline is no longer forced. And that is why this moment matters more than the heavy seasons ever did. Capricorn, you reached a point where you could slow down in unhealthy ways, and no one would stop you. You could lower your standards, and no one would challenge you. You could take shortcuts, and no one would question it. This is the test. Not of strength, but of character. Not of endurance, but of consistency. Those who pass this phase are trusted with influence that does not exhaust them. They no longer fight for stability. Stability surrounds them. Provision arrives without panic. Opportunity flows without struggle. Authority settles naturally, without fear of misuse. You begin to notice something subtle. You are no longer chasing alignment. You are living inside it. Your routines no longer feel restrictive. They feel grounding. Your boundaries no longer feel lonely. They feel protective. Your discipline no longer feels heavy. It feels clean. Capricorn, many people reach success first and then collapse later. You are being built the opposite way. You were trained before expansion, so expansion would not crush you. That is why things around you are slowing down slightly instead of speeding up. That is why silence feels louder now. That is why reflection has replaced urgency. This is not stagnation. This is confirmation. You are standing at a point where your inner order finally matches the weight of what is coming. And when that happens, expansion no longer needs effort. It unfolds quietly, naturally, permanently. Capricorn, you are not being tested because you might fail. You are being tested because you are almost trusted completely. And once you cross this threshold, life no longer challenges your foundation. It builds on it. Now that you understand the meaning of the mark, and now that awareness has been activated, there is one final stage before the quiet confirmation arrives. This stage is not about learning something new. It is about living differently, subtly, intentionally, and with clarity. The mark does not ask you to change who you are. It asks you to stop resisting who you already became. Capricorn, alignment begins with how you carry yourself daily, not in dramatic ways, not through big announcements, but in small, consistent choices. You move differently now. You speak less, but with more weight. You observe before responding. You choose where your energy goes with greater care. This is alignment. You stop forcing doors that do not respond to discipline. You stop explaining your standards to people who profit from your flexibility. You stop chasing recognition and begin allowing recognition to locate you. Living in alignment with the mark means trusting your inner pace. You no longer rush timing. You no longer compare progress. You stop measuring your life against louder personalities. You understand something deeply now. What is meant for you does not require noise. It requires readiness. That is why rest becomes important at this stage. Not laziness, rest with intention. Stillness that sharpens judgment instead of dulling it. You protect your routines. You respect your limits. You do not abandon structure just because life feels temporarily calm. Because calm is not an invitation to loosen discipline. It is confirmation that discipline is working. Capricorn, alignment also means discernment. Not everyone needs access to you anymore. Not every opportunity deserves your effort. Not every invitation aligns with your future. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. And clarity is power. The mark on your palm is reflected through this lifestyle. Steady, principled, intentional. You don't need to prove yourself. Your consistency does it naturally. And this is the final preparation. Because once life sees that you can maintain alignment without pressure, it trusts you with more, slowly, permanently, and without chaos. This is not the climax yet. This is the stabilization before it. You are not waiting anymore. You are positioned. And from this position, everything else unfolds in order. One last thing, Capricorn. This part matters more than you may realize. Do not explain this sign to skeptics. Do not argue about it. Do not try to convince anyone who demands evidence before trusting intuition. Some things were never meant to be defended. They were meant to be honored. You were never assigned the role of persuader. You were never meant to gather approval. You were meant to align, quietly and completely. Alignment does not speak loudly. It moves steadily. The mark on your palm does not ask for attention. It does not compete. It does not rush. It responds only to obedience, not blind obedience, but obedience to your inner order. It responds when you choose consistency over impulses, when you choose integrity over shortcuts, when you choose self-respect over validation. Capricorn, look at the path you have already walked. You did not arrive here by luck. You did not survive by chance. You did not endure without purpose. You lived responsibly when others avoided accountability. You stood firm when others excused weakness. You stayed composed when life tested your patience silently. Even during moments when you felt unseen, you were being refined. You learned to move without noise, to grow without announcement, to prepare without reassurance. That is why what approaches next does not overwhelm you, because you have already lived in ways that prove trustworthiness. This is the quiet confirmation, not spoken in words, but shown through timing. Things are lining up subtly now. Opportunities feel calmer instead of chaotic. Decisions feel clearer instead of rushed. You are no longer fighting for stability, you are stepping into it. And that is how you know this is real. If this message reached you deeply, stay close. Not because you fear missing something, but because you recognize resonance. Messages like this do not arrive randomly. They appear when awareness is ready. Subscribe gently. Not from pressure, not from urgency, from alignment, from recognition. And remember this, Capricorn, as you move forward. The sign on your palm was never waiting to be drawn. It was never waiting to appear. It was never waiting on permission. It was waiting for your awareness to catch up with your readiness, and now it has.